The sale of goods law is a crucial framework that governs transactions involving goods, and understanding its key aspects can empower both buyers and sellers. Let's dive right in. First, let's talk about the transfer of property. This is the moment when ownership of the goods shifts from the seller to the buyer. It's essential to know that this transfer can happen at different times, depending on whether the goods are specific or unascertained. For specific goods, the transfer occurs when the goods are identified and agreed upon. However, for unascertained goods, the transfer happens when the goods are set aside for the buyer. This distinction is vital because it affects risk and responsibility. Next, we have delivery and payment. Delivery is not just about handing over the goods. It's about fulfilling the terms of the contract. The seller must deliver the goods in the manner specified in the agreement, and the buyer must pay the agreed price. If the buyer fails to pay, the seller has the right to withhold delivery until payment is made. This principle ensures that both parties uphold their obligations. Now, let's shift gears to performance obligations. The seller's primary obligation is to deliver the goods as promised, while the buyer must accept the goods and pay for them. If the seller fails to deliver, the buyer can seek remedies, such as claiming damages or even rescinding the contract. Conversely, if the buyer refuses to accept the goods without valid reason, the seller can take legal action to enforce the contract. One of the most significant topics in this law is the rights of an unpaid seller. If a seller has not been paid, they have several powerful rights at their disposal. First, there's the right of lien, which allows the seller to retain possession of the goods until payment is made. This means that if the buyer hasn't paid, the seller can hold onto the goods, creating a strong incentive for the buyer to fulfill their payment obligation. Then we have stoppage in transit. If the seller learns that the buyer is insolvent after the goods have been dispatched, they can stop the goods from reaching the buyer and reclaim them. This right protects the seller from potential losses and ensures they can recover their goods. Resale is another critical right. If the buyer defaults, the seller can resell the goods to mitigate their losses. This right not only helps the seller recover some of their costs, but also keeps the goods in circulation, benefiting the market. Additionally, the seller has the right to sue for the price. If the buyer refuses to pay, the seller can take legal action to recover the amount owed. This is a powerful tool that reinforces the importance of honoring contractual agreements. Finally, claiming damages is a crucial aspect of the unpaid seller's rights. If the buyer's breach of contract results in a loss for the seller, they can seek compensation for those damages. This ensures that sellers are not left at a disadvantage when buyers fail to meet their obligations. To wrap it all up, understanding the sale of goods law is essential for anyone involved in buying or selling goods. It lays out the rules for transferring property, fulfilling contracts, and protecting the rights of sellers. By knowing these key aspects, you can navigate transactions more confidently and effectively. Remember, whether you're a buyer or a seller, being informed is your best asset.